What's podcast team.
Thank you for having us.
Hi, Kimberly.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you
Con-
for having us,
yeah,
Jamie.
of course. And congratulations on your Oscar nomination for your work on the film Sinners. Yay!
Thank
Yes,
you.
Thank you. Thank
thank you
you.
so much.
I'm so excited for you guys. And the work being considered is makeup and hair for the overall film. Now, if you could each tell us your name and what your position on the film was.
Yes, Shunika Terry Jennings. I am the hair designer.
I'm Mike Fontaine, and I'm the prosthetic makeup designer.
Hi, I'm Ken Diaz, the makeup and permanent.
Brilliant. So I would love to know when you heard the news that you had been nominated, what was the first thought that came to mind? But also, I think it's kind of fun to know where you were at the time. Shunika?
It's a funny story, so I have to tell you the night before.
Okay, go.
Well, the night before, I set up my camera and everything and my little light ring. And I was like, okay, great. We're going to get up early in the morning and watch the announcement and just, just have everything set up right and ready. No, that didn't happen. I got up and I went downstairs, turned on the television, and it was announced so fast. I just remember like trying to set it up, and my husband was helping me, and then the announcement. We were the second announcement. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And I just pulled out my phone and was shaking and everything. And then when they called out our names, I just remember screaming. I dropped my phone, ran to my husband, kissed him, and yelled, "We are going to the Oscars!"
Oh, I
And so
love it.
that was my reaction. It was I wanted to have like the whole perfect like setup, but no, it didn't happen.
I love it.
That's
I love
amazing.
that. I love hearing that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Mike?
Well, I was in my studio with Ryan, who worked with me on the show, and Ryan was the coordinator for all the special effects makeup on Sinners. So it was kind of a special moment because Ryan was my best friend who had actually never worked on a movie before. And when Sinners happened, it was such a massive project. I realized I needed to pull all the help I could get, pretty much from everyone I know. So I trusted my two best friends, Ryan and Eddie, who had all this great experience and problem solving skills to come on board and do this film with us. So uh, it was a wild journey going through all of that with them. So we had Eddie on speaker, and I was there with Ryan. And when the announcement came through, it was just like a big hug and a really full circle moment for us to think about, being in my kitchen saying, "Hey, there's this movie. Is there any chance you might want to help out with it?" To hearing that announcement. So for me, it was just a special moment with Ryan and Eddie.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, there was a lot of great work in the films that are up this year. Great work in makeup and stuff. So you never want to kind of get your hopes too high. At least I try not to, but you're always excited. So when it was announced, it was like, wow, okay, this is great. Mike had been nominated. I'd been nominated before two times. So my first thing was I was so excited for Shunika. Like, all right, Shunika, well, that's what I was
Thank you.
excited about. And for the entire makeup, hair, and special makeup effects prosthetic team, I felt great for the whole group as a whole.
Yeah,
That's
how we
really
felt.
cool. I love to hear that. So, if you could talk us through three characters from research and development through to daily application.
I know I would like to touch on Smoke and Stack, Mary, and Annie. Um, I would say that there was, um, I wanted to make sure that all of the characters were true, right? And I wanted to make sure that everyone felt real and lived in, and that you can feel their story when you look at them on the screen. And the big part of it is just making sure that you choose that we chose the right hairstyles to make sure that you don't get caught up in the hair, but you believe this person when you see them. And it's like you've seen them before. You want them to feel like they came out of a photograph book. And what did we need to do to make sure that they, I would say, come off on the screen just to be as real as possible? So with Smoke and Stack, when I found out, of course, it was Michael B. Jordan in that role. And um, the first thing that I have to do, just as a hairstylist, is that I need to touch the hair and see what the texture is. And I researched a lot of my main research source was a photographer's book, Eudora Welty. And I remember um, Ryan walking into the trailer, and we were just going over the concept and the thoughts and the things that I wanted to do with designing Smoking Stack's look. And then also too, you got to remember that he had a '90s Stack had the '90s look at the very end.
Mm.
So when he walked in the room, I never forget it because I think they were scouting at different areas, and he had this book in his hand. And I was like, let me see this book. And as I was thumbing through that book, it was some amazing photos from the photographer. And she was born and raised in the South, in the Delta, in Mississippi Delta. And I was able to see a lot of how the people lived in that time in the 30s. And that was like one of the biggest inspirations for me doing the research for Smoke, for Stack, for Annie, as well as like many of the white and black sharecroppers that you see in the movie. Even dealing with Remick, his look, it was pulled from that book. So um, with that, it was just like I had to think about what to do to make sure that we are appropriate with the cultures. And for me, I wanted everyone's texture to be seen, and whether it was coily or kinky or curly or straight or wavy, that's the beauty of all the cultures and the diversity that's in the film that you do see. And so Mike trusted me to give him a relaxer, a texturizer, which is a bold move, for a role, because we wanted to ditch a wig. And once I can't say it more, that's the most you can get the real feel out of these characters is using their real hair. And that allowed him also to transform, not only by in his mind, but then just when he looked in the mirror, he felt like a total different person. We've never seen Mike like this before. So that was a big thing that he trusted, me to do. And his barber that was there, Jove, we kind of came together as I explained, like, okay, we have to give him this Al Capone-ish, these mobsters that have these slick looks, but how do we do that on African American texture? And understanding that when you're blending textures and haircuts right, and you use the proper products to break down and create these styles. So it was actually for me thinking and living in the time and the era of when my great aunts were hairstylists. They were hairstylists in that time and had
Wow.
salons. So I was able to, it felt like, as they would say, the ancestors are leading you. That's how it felt when we're creating the Smoke and Stack look. And it actually flowed into not Mary, but Annie. And with her being prideful about her community and the sharecroppers. And once again, that book had so many details for me on top of researching on Pinterest. And I noticed that all of the women had specific partings in their hair and knots, and they had their hair braided up and tied up. And the main reason why, because historically, with being a sharecropper, especially with Black women, is that their hair needed to be up because the bugs were out in the field. And you do not see anyone that can wear their hair out or down in that time. So each person's look had a story to tell. And I just wanted to make sure that we expressed it well. And I had an amazing team that executed well. And then to go to Mary, Lauren Bacall was the the main inspiration for her. And I never forget it when I reached out to Haley, and I knew her when she was a little girl. I worked with her years ago. So now to work with her as a woman, it's like, wow, okay, great. You have this amazing role. What can we do for you to feel real and for you to feel this character? And I got a picture of what she looked like before, when she was cast, and her hair was way down her back. I was like, okay, that's one of two things. This is second trust. Do you trust me? She's like, okay, what do you want to do? I was like, I think you should, go short and not do a wig. And how do you feel about that? And go back to your natural hair color. And she was on board. And when she agreed to do that, I was like, okay, cool. So now we have everyone that's um, that we can express each one of these characters to add to the story of realism. And so that was very helpful with them and their trust about going in and going through the process of them mentally to step into these roles. So that was a big part for for the three that I could speak about. I could speak about all of them in their journey and their journey, but that was a big part of it.
That's amazing. Awesome. Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I know we only have three, but I do have to say for Shunika that the wig on Delroy
Oh,
Lindo
Delroy.
as Delta Slim is like, it has to be
Yes.
mentioned because
Yes.
he's bald and he's wearing
Yes.
this wig that is so real,
Yes.
that I would forgot like halfway through the shoot that he was wearing a wig. It was
Yes. Oh
so
my gosh.
real. So yeah,
Yes.
that had to be brought up.
Oh,
But
thank you for that. Like,
yeah,
oh, I'm thinking like everybody.
yeah.
Ooh, yes.
And it's cool. We actually made like, Delroy also has really beautiful white teeth, like white teeth. And, he's supposed to be this, you know, um, alcoholic from the 30s. So we made these, yellowed teeth with like actual gold caps on it, which is a nice little character thing. So I feel like Delta's a fun collaboration that, Shanika and I kind of get to be involved with. But
Yes.
okay, so the three things I wanted to mention were kind of like the three stages of Remick, because even though Remick is one actor, Jack O'Connell, it really is like so many different characters all in one. So for Remick, in the script, every time, you encounter this character, he's always pretending to be something he's not. When he shows up at the farmhouse, he's covered in burns saying he's this victim, but actually the burns are because he's a vampire and the sun is burning his skin. And then he shows up at the mill and he's saying, he's just this guy that wants to come and play music and party. And obviously that's not the case. So I started to think about Jack, his actual face, as being the mask, as the front. And as the movie goes on, that starts to break down. We start to see more of who this character actually is, and that there's this evil like seething under the surface dying to come out. So the first look we really did with Jack that was like a demonic look was when, you see him with these reflective eyes and these fangs. So we're referencing animals that have reflective eyes, this tapetum lucidum effect where we created contact lenses. This amazing lens designer, Christina Patterson, invented an entirely new contact lens, this lens that could actually reflect light and color shift safely in an actor's eye in a contact lens. So that's the glowing eye look is actually practical, and we did that on set. So after the surreal montage, when you see Remick, staring and you see that glowing eye, that was sort of the beginning of the curtain coming down on who he really is. So it keeps peeking through. And then, this amazing scene in the script Ryan wrote where, Sammy's guitar smashes him in the head and, the resonator of the guitar actually gets stuck inside his head and rips half his face off. So I'm reading this like, oh my God, this is gold. I can't wait to create this. And had a Zoom call with Ryan and he said, what if when his face is ripped open, his molars will reveal that they're actually fangs? Almost as if he's been a vampire. They were fangs all along. It's just his cheek is hiding it. So again, it's like Jack's face is the mask. So we created this very complicated makeup that I was honestly like very scared about and very nervous about leading up to the day of shooting it, where we had Jack's fangs in his mouth that went over his cheek and prosthetics overlaying that to actually try to make it feel like the illusion that his face was gone and you were seeing into his face. Glowing contacts. We made a fiberglass plate that went on his head. We glued half his hair down, put this fiberglass plate on, and then that had magnets attached to it. We replicated the guitar resonator, which is about a metal disc like this big, in a lightweight material so that it could actually magnetically click into Jack's head. we did that like trick where like, with the magic trick with the machete where the hole is cut out and it fits on the head. So he has this magnetic disc on his head, and then there's a prosthetic that goes over that, and a wig that goes over that. And underneath it, we had tubes that ran up the back that had smoke. So it actually felt like the silver in the guitar was smoking and interacting with him. And then we had blood spraying out. So there's blood spraying out of his head as well. So all of these pieces needed to kind of work together. We kind of like nicknamed it the Terminator makeup because underneath it, it was like a mechanical mess of wires and magnets. And then as he starts to burn, we go into this really extreme third stage where now like, everything is out and you find out like the real vampire. So it's a burned vampire, but that's where it's like you see these crazy glowing eyes and almost like these pools of lava coming through his body that wouldn't be, like anatomically accurate for a person burning. So we created a burn suit. I worked with this amazing team, Bill Bryan and Kevin Wassner, and this full burn suit was built with gloves, and we shot it in a real sunset. A real sunrise in the morning as the sun was coming up with IMAX cameras, and in a real pool of water. And was not on a green screen. It was not on a stage. It was actually there. And I wanted to take it a step further. I really wanted it to be like very extreme, but I knew it's a real sunrise. Like you can't do another makeup change. We did one big makeup change on Jack during the sunrise, and the producers, everyone, we were all sweating. Like, we had everything timed to the point where we had the makeup already on the brushes. Like we had to go. But I wanted to take it further, so we actually cast a double. That was a secondary actor who wore a really advanced burn suit with these like giant claws and this, skull-like charred face that was so fun to do. And then he would switch out with Jack so he could complete the scene. So, even though it's one character, looking at Remick, and I didn't even get to mention the Injured Man makeup where he's covered in burns at the beginning, and which was a hyper real version, but it was so cool to be able to work with an actor like Jack, have Ryan's script with all these ideas, and then be able to, take it all the way from a regular looking guy to, full on burning vampire demon corpse in one film. So I was really excited about that particular character, and we put a ton of our energy into that. And I'm really happy with how, his transformation turned out through the film.
Yeah, I mean, you're not kidding when you say complicated. My God. I am curious. I'm curious to know, was it always the idea from the beginning that a lot of that would be practical and that they wouldn't kind of lean on other ways to like do the smoke and do the lava kind of thing that you're talking about? Like when did that get decided?
Yeah, I mean, well, Ryan Coogler set the tone for that because he wanted to, like I mentioned, shoot the film in IMAX on real film. We were, in these real locations in Louisiana. Everything was done for real. And the visual effects team, Michael Ralla was leading, was just an unbelievable at like looking at making everything accurate and taking elements from all the departments and being, truthful to it. So, right from the beginning, we knew we were going to do as much practically as we possibly could. We took it to a level that was like, this is as crazy as we can get, but then we can't actually set him on fire. So that's where this awesome collaboration with Michael Ralla and his team came in, because they were able to add the flames and they were able to, integrate the different actors. We actually had even a third actor who was a stunt actor that was lit on fire for real. We had him in a flame-proof burn suit. Wow. That he could actually be lit on fire. They did it, I think, 2 or 3 times, and he went up in flames. And there's a whole team that comes with fire extinguishers. And so the visual effects team was essential. They were able to bridge all these different practical elements and actors together to make it feel like it was one. But everything you see even the flames actually existed in a real physical way. So it was a really great collaboration. It was very fortunate that Michael Ralla was the VFX supervisor on this film.
Yes.
Awesome. Ken?
Hi. So yeah, I want to talk about the some of the makeups in the montage sequence, particularly the Chinese opera Water Sleep Dancer and the Monkey King. And so I was a replacement head, makeup department head, and so I came in after shooting had already begun. And the first step in designing any makeup is always first and most important step is research. And I was fortunate that Sean Richards had compiled a lot of research before I arrived. And it was a great opportunity to come in and work with Ryan Krugler and Ruth Carter, which we worked on Black Panther together with you, Jamie Lee.
Yeah.
And I loved collaborating with them. And it was a great opportunity. It was to come in. And so I had met with Ruth, and she showed me a lot of the research she had compiled. And she took me through rows and rows of all these costumes for the 24 spirit ancestors that we were going to be shooting. And some of the looks had multiple choices that she hadn't decided on. So after that, I did some additional research. And for the Chinese opera Water Sleep Dancer, I think I did 4 tests with her, working out the different foundations, the different combinations of water-based makeups, cream makeups, powder makeups. I did a custom foundation, blusher color. And the first test was like working out the general shapes of the face from the research elements, combining different elements from different research that fit our particular actresses or dancer's face. Worked out the eyeliner shapes, the eyebrow shapes, and actually I had worked with a couple of different makeup artists. I was going to be supervising all the looks, so the last 2 tests, makeup artist Elena Hogg came in and we worked it out with her, and she was amazing. And for the Monkey King makeup, before my arrival, Ned Neidhart had already begun some preliminary design work on that. And Ned did 3 tests also, working that out and getting that look, working out specifically for the, we wanted to keep the authenticity of both of those looks, be true to the culture. And it was very important that we were true to the culture, and we work with the actors that were familiar with those looks and making sure they were happy and they felt comfortable in their performance by wearing these authentic makeups. And and then the other, some of the other ones we had, they were representative with, we had the 80s funk, and we had 90s kind of hip hop looks. And for those backgrounds, I wanted to have a look that kind of separate them from the other people at the jukebox. So incorporated a gold iridescent makeup into their look, which is more visible in the exterior when the fire's going in the background after the juke burns up, and you can when you get the lighting of the fire, that really those iridescent colors really popped. And we had a great team that put all that together. Did extensive testing on that to really get those looks really tightened up, and I was very happy with the whole team.
Yeah, it's a very cool sequence as well in the film. I love it.
Yeah, when we were watching that at the monitor, we're watching the sequence, and we're all standing around the monitor. I think we got it. I think that was the 3rd take. We got that steady cam shot, and when Ryan yelled cut, we all just kind of looked at each other like, "Oh my God, this is amazing! What an amazing camera work!" And the whole group with costumes and everything was just like, what a great accomplishment.
Oh, that's really cool. Now, each year, the nominated films showcase such a wonderful range of work. Happens every year. You're just like, how these films are so different from each other. How do you feel your work differs from your fellow nominees this year?
Well, I just say I have so much respect for all of the fellow nominees, for everyone that's been nominated. so much. Everyone, I was like, wow, it's when I was just sitting back and just thinking about everyone's work, I was like, it's beautiful. But I would say each project approaches hair from a different, distinctive place. And I think what makes ours a little bit different is the emphasis on the restraint and the specifics of the culture. And that's what I feel like it just makes it like, just a little bit different. But I would say that I utterly I respect everyone that's been nominated because they've done everyone worked so hard. I know they have. It's some beautiful work.
Yeah, I mean there's so many different styles reflected in the nominations. There's fantasy and there's hyper realism and I mean yeah, I mean I don't even know. I mean I will say Kazuhiro was one of my mentors growing up. I mean I've known him since I was about 14 and just always idolized his artistry and to be nominated in the same category with him is just like to me that's such an honor. And I grew up really so fascinated by all of their work and respecting all of their work. And it does feel surreal to be in the category with all of them. And each one is so different and so unique. So I love being in the mix. And I think our film is they're all just totally different, but they're all really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said. Ken?
Yeah, so every film nominated this year has its own attributes, and I believe that ours would be the broad range of high quality work across the three different areas: hair, prosthetics, and makeup. And I was, it was a collaboration, and that's what I think it was a great accomplishment in that respect.
Yeah, awesome. Well said, guys. I know it's a tricky question to ask, but I love to ask it.
Yes.
Um, so, throughout filming and in prep, when just on the job, what did you find to be your biggest challenge? What's a standout that you were just like, whew, that was hard?
The elements.
The elements? Okay. Where
Oh
were you
yeah.
guys shooting?
We were all over different areas, rural areas of New Orleans, and like from Thibodeau to, oh my gosh, we were in so many different areas. I remember just this one day we were on set, and I think Mike, I think you were there, and Kim was there. I never forget it. We were on set, and a couple of feet over from us was an alligator,
Ah,
Oh yeah.
a tired alligator.
And they had the gator wranglers that were like, scaring them off. And yeah, you could see their eyes shining in the water at night,
Yes.
just like the vampires, which was really,
ah.
really cool. They were watching.
Yeah, they were watching. Oh my gosh, the bugs, the humidity, making sure that the good thing is I feel like that played a part that probably helped out with makeup is everyone had a natural glow
Yeah.
because of the sweat. But that was I would say probably a little bit of a challenging thing for us, especially considering that we opted to use up like 90%, 80% of the movie for hair. We use everyone's natural hair from the background to our main cast. So just watching the hair live in its natural element is one thing. But then when things start to drop, we're like, okay, what are our tricks? And I became a chemist on set. Yeah. Cocktailing many products to make it look soft but last, during this high humidity. So that was a challenge for us. But I feel like, yeah, I think we did all right.
So was for you,
We
was it
conquered
just
it.
trying to work out when you say the mix of products, just individually for each person, trying to come up with that combo of what was going to work best for them?
Yeah, pretty much. And it all starts with the set at first. So I think I was very specific about the technique that was used and the products that was used. And when it breaks down, how do you build it back up to make it, to do easier touch ups? And it's so funny because I always tell people this about Mike. For him, his hair was like a helmet. It felt like a rock. Because I formulated a gel that was stood the test of time. So, and then he had to put hats on, take them off, and just figuring out what can we do to make sure that he stayed looking polished for the majority of the time, and then figure out when he broke down what techniques are used so his hair doesn't look too crazy, but we can see that it's believable with him being in a fight and everything. So it was definitely something. And Delroy with the wig, that was that was helpful. But make sure that he didn't lift up and take off,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, because of my late arrival, it was trying to put the looks of 24 spirit ancestors together like in 3 weeks.
Right.
And, but, we had an amazing team that we could pull in and just start pulling stuff together, start testing. And, I couldn't have done it without an amazing team, but that was my biggest challenge, making sure that the quality was there, even though we got a late start on it. And, I was so happy that it all came together, even that
Yeah.
condensed amount of time.
Yeah, yeah. And just going off what Shunika said, like how did you find the elements and the temperatures and the humidity and everything? Did it?
It's tough, but, I did 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies. I've been all over the world in Cambodia and jungles. And, I used to hate the heat. I love working in a cold environment because I could put out all of the layers on. You can only take off so much clothing or put on so much mosquito repellent. But to me, it was just like something we go through in our industry that you just deal with it.
I think the biggest challenge for our department was just that, it's an ensemble cast, and almost every single person in the film goes through some sort of prosthetic transformation. Almost nobody is safe. We were joking that there's like only a couple actors that made it without having to go through our trailer and have, something glued to them. So, it was really building all of this stuff, to have ready in all these different scenarios, shooting out of order. It was by the time we got down to it, our build list, I think, was like about 80 items that we were building, and, hundreds and hundreds of prosthetics and hundreds of sculptures and molds. So many different things. I mean, we made the gold teeth that the Smoke and Stack twins wear. Michael B. Jordan has these little gold caps that kind of differentiate them as twins. So we were, figuring out how to make gold grills, and then we were figuring out, how to make reflective eyes, and we had blood rigs, and every day felt like you were working on a new movie. Some movies you're focused on one character, and this movie was like, you could never get your footing. Every day you woke up and, there was a new challenge. Some days we had like 5 or 6 actors coming into our trailer at the same time to be all made up into, various states of, supernatural gore. So it was a lot of fun, but that made it very, very, very challenging. And the organization on the team was, I mean, they really had to have it together. They had charts for everything. And another subtle detail in the film, I don't know if people will, notice on a first watch, is that we kind of created this mythology that the vampires, once they're feeding, their wounds heal. So all these injuries happen, but then they start healing like supernaturally fast after they've been feeding. So it wasn't just like there's a bite wound in the neck and they wear it for the rest of the movie. It was that every scene you see them, the bite wound is starting to heal more and more, and it's shrinking and it's scabbing over. So, I mean, weeks and weeks of just continuity charts and so much confusion of stacked neck V3 is playing in this scene, and we're switching it to this, and now there's a V2. It was an unbelievable logistical and creative challenge, but we got through it. I'll say that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yes.
And I mean, I normally like to get to the end of a project and feel like I've learned some things along the way. So what's like a standout lesson that you feel like you learned throughout this process?
I would say the main thing after reading the script and dissecting everything is it was a history lesson for me. And I honestly I didn't know what to expect. I knew it was about when Ryan and Zenzi, when they interviewed me, it's like, oh, it's a period piece about vampires. That's all I knew. And once I got the script and started reading it, I was like, okay, because I'm not a big horror girl. I can't, I'm not big of horror films. But this one it was not um, a horror film. It was so cultural and so spiritual. And I would say the valuable thing, like for me, what I got from this a lesson is going diving in deeper and understanding more about each person's about the South a little bit more. I'm from the South. I'm from Texas, but I did not I didn't know about the communities, like the Chinese communities in the Mississippi Delta. I didn't know about those things. So that was like one lesson that was very that stood out, for me, that I still just sit back and think like, wow, I learned a lot while filming Sinners.
I think a lesson that I took away from this was, more than any other film was just how powerful collaboration is when, because it's so complicated and it unionized and, all these things can be very departmentalized, and
Yeah.
things can be very separated even within a makeup effects department. There's someone making the mold, there's someone doing a sculpture, and there's someone casting the silicone. And on this film, the work was just so challenging and the scope was so big, and we were doing everything for real. There really was no way to work that way. Everyone had to help each other. So, seeing all the artists in my department come together, and then even, more globally on the whole film, like all the department heads were helping each other. I mean, we were
Yeah.
constantly working with, each other, and constantly talking to Ruth about the costumes and how they would be torn away to reveal wounds or burned away to reveal the prosthetics. Working with Michael Ralla in visual effects, as we already mentioned, adding flames to the makeups. Working with Autumn, shooting everything in IMAX, studying the lighting and how everything was looking on film. And I've just, never had such a collaborative experience. And I think that, part of what was so special about, the nomination announcement is that, we found out that Sinners became the most Oscar nominated film in history. And I think what makes that so special, just thinking about it, is we all really worked together. Like
Yes.
every name that was announced, we were like jumping up and cheering
Yes.
because, we really did this together. So it felt like a collective win. And I think I'm going to take that with me. I mean, I already have in the films I've worked on since Sinners, that, the best work happens when people are really thinking together and working together. It's really powerful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, interesting. We didn't compare answers. We had the same question ahead of time, but we got to compare answers. But that's exactly what my lesson was. It reconfirmed what a high level of work can be achieved with collaborations. And it's not always that this happens. This team, like I say, the 16 nominations showcase that this is a group effort across the board, like Mike said. And it's so frustrating when you work in these other films I've worked on before, and the people say, "Oh, no, stay in your own lane. This is my department. Don't." And it's so frustrating. And it's just like, oh, what a joy, what a joy, what a triumph is when you work together. Particularly
Yes.
with the director's vision, and Ryan sets up that environment of collaboration. That comes from Ryan, and and we're creating characters as costumes, makeup, hair, and we're working with the actors, putting that all together. This is when you excel. this is the environment that you just dream to work in. It doesn't happen all the time. So to me, it just reconfirmed what the lesson I'd already known, that that's the best way. You know,
Yeah.
I was thinking back. That's the way I worked on the Thing, John Carpenter's Thing, which was a milestone in makeup effects. It's because of the collaboration with the we had a storyboard, we had a DP that was a fan of makeup, and we shot it. He helped. We worked together, and that's that's like everybody knows that's one of the most amazing makeup effects film in history because of collaboration. So that is it. Collaboration. Yahoo, guys.
I love it. I love this.
Awesome.
And going off that, as we all know, it does take a team. So did you want to take a moment to give a shout out to those that helped you on the project?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I couldn't wait for this question. Yes, but I always say there's no I in team. And teamwork makes the dream work. And I would like to thank Tanae Wilder, who's my key, Elizabeth Robinson. She stepped in when I moved over to take on the full responsibility with Michael. And I would like to thank Sherry Hamilton. I also, Shazonia Lewis. She ran our background, and I had over 18 hairstylists working almost every day. Jimmy Turner, our barber, did a fantastic job. One thing most people don't know, that Miles had a head full of locks, and his locks were combed out and cut down to have that semi look for the movie. Everyone was just amazing artists, and and Neil Rattler, and Neil Rattler. That was my core team, and everyone just did a fantastic job. And it wasn't the easiest, and I just thank them for showing up every day and making it as fun as possible. So, like I said, there's no I in team, and I'm so very grateful and thankful for every last one of them.
Awesome.
I did it all myself, so I have no one to thank. It's all me.
Pat yourself on the back, Mike.
It was
Well
all
done.
me. No, you know what I realized is we actually had 26, I think 26 artists. I mean, it was probably even a little bigger once you start expanding, but like so many people that came on this project to work with the prosthetics and effects. And for me, one of the coolest things about this job is it was like I can call people because of the scope of this project that, I grew up, loving their work and obsessed with their work, and ask them if they want to be involved. So, I'd always loved Carlos Wante's drawings and his conceptual art from his, work with, Rick Baker and Men in Black, and his work in Arrival. So I called Carlos and I said, would you like to do, some conceptual drawings with me? And he said yes. So I was like, amazing. And, we had this really, really exciting creative collaboration, hours on the phone and passing drawings back and forth. And I called Kevin Wassner, who's a makeup effects legend and worked on The Walking Dead. And, he came on board as our key artist. We had, on the other end of it, there were these two guys that were kind of proteges that, I knew since they were teenagers, that started working, alongside me, who came in and they supervised all the lab work, Greg Pekulski and Brett Schmidt. And they, made all the lab work happen. So I was so proud of them, to see them come so far from when I knew them, as kids, basically, to now running this massive, mold shop and department. And I mean, the list goes on and on. We had Bailey Domke and Kelsey Burke. I already mentioned Christina Patterson, Lauren Spencer, and Reed Caesar making amazing fangs, Dominic Mombrun from Bite Makers making amazing fangs. I still can't believe that all these artists got to work on this film with us. I'm like, it's surreal. I learned something from every single one of them. They can all do things that I can't do. They all have such unique, special talents. So you know, it was, yeah, I'm still pinching myself. I got to work with this whole team. Amazing artists.
So, yeah, I'd love to thank the members of the makeup team, which Ned Neidhart was assistant department head and amazing. He's so well-rounded in every area of, you know, from every area of makeup, he excels at, and he instrumental in the success of this film. Alison LaCour, I want to thank her. She had given lessons to local crew before we arrived, before the film started. A lot of the community, the New Orleans makeup team, she had assembled and given credit, given lessons ahead of time. And then Lana Mora and Elena Hogg and Lauren Green, and so many other of the amazing talented makeup artists from New Orleans have contributed to this
I'm
success.
sorry, I
And
forgot
want
one
to
person.
thank them all.
If I can add, there was
Awesome.
Wankia Hinkson. I had to step away. I got married
course.
while we were filming Sinners, and and I had my bridal shower, and I am a honeymoon. I was on my honeymoon all during the filming of Sinners, and which was insane, but we got it done. So that's how rock star of a team that I have. But I also wanted to add Wankia Hinkson, because she stepped in for me to take over and help out with Michael while I had to step away to get married. So
That's awesome. Okay, guys. So a massive
thank
congratulations
you.
again. Enjoy the ride, and thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Jamie.